I never expected that my own stalker could be more dangerous than I imagined. His presence turned my life into a living hell over several agonizing months. It all began with a chilling introduction, a mysterious note urging me to look outside, only to find eerie photographs of myself in my own garden. From there, the terror escalated. Threats appeared at my doorstep, accompanied by unsettling messages and more intrusive pictures of me. Each incident left me feeling unnerved and vulnerable, but the breaking point came when I discovered my guitar mysteriously relocated within my own home. Relying on the authorities proved futile. Despite my mounting evidence and pleas for help, the police dismissed my concerns, citing a lack of concrete proof. Frustrated and desperate for answers, I made a risky decision. I began shadowing my stalker. I learned his routines meticulously, tracking his movements from my apartment building to my favorite coffee shop, and even to the gym where I sought solace. In a strange twist, mirroring his actions became a dangerous game of cat and mouse. His obliviousness to my surveillance allowed me to gather crucial information about him through online sleuthing and covert observation. I discovered his identity buried deep within public records and obscure online forums. What emerged was a troubling portrait of a man entangled in a web of shady connections and past indiscretions, including a history of harassment and ties to illicit activities. Despite the risks, I persisted, driven by a determination to unravel his motives and protect myself. Yet, as I delved deeper into his world, I couldn't shake the haunting realization that he was not just fixated on me, but was entangled in something far darker and more sinister. The relentless pursuit took its toll. Balancing my own surveillance with evading his watchful eye became increasingly precarious. Our paths crossed in unsettling ways, his presence lurking in familiar places, his gaze trailing mine. Each encounter a reminder of the perilous dance we were locked in. One rainy night, my pursuit led me to a desolate warehouse, where I stumbled upon a clandestine meeting that unveiled the extent of his dangerous alliances. Caught off guard, I narrowly escaped a confrontation with his associates, the encounter escalating into a terrifying chase through the streets. Heart pounding, I sought refuge in the dense cover of nearby woods, evading capture in the cloak of darkness. It was a harrowing escape that left me shaken but alive. Armed with newfound evidence that could expose his clandestine activities, armed with damning evidence, I confronted him, forcing a confrontation that would change everything. In a tense exchange, I laid bare the depths of his obsession and the sinister undercurrents of his actions. His initial fear gave way to a surprising revelation. He too had been grappling with personal demons that fueled his destructive behavior. Our unexpected meeting led to an uneasy truce born from mutual understanding. We agreed to a ceasefire, a fragile pact to bury the ghosts of our shared ordeal. For a time, the threats subsided, and I dared to hope that the nightmare was finally over. But darkness has a way of resurfacing when least expected. The peace was shattered when he returned, driven by a vengeful fury that escalated into a violent confrontation within my own home. In a desperate struggle, I managed to overpower him, barely escaping with my life. The aftermath was fraught with legal uncertainties and emotional turmoil. Faced with the threat of mutual destruction, we reluctantly negotiated a fragile peace, setting aside our grievances in favour of an uneasy détente. As time passed, the wounds slowly healed, and life tentatively returned to normalcy. In a strange twist of fate, our paths crossed again, this time under vastly different circumstances. What began as a tense standoff evolved into an unlikely dialogue, revealing the complexities of our shared trauma. In each other's stories, we found unexpected parallels, forging an unlikely bond rooted in empathy and forgiveness, our journey from adversaries to reluctant allies taught me a profound lesson about the power of compassion and understanding. Beneath the veneer of fear and mistrust lay a shared humanity, capable of transcending the shadows of our past. As we parted ways, there was a newfound sense of closure, a tentative peace forged from the ashes of our turbulent history. Life moved forward, marked by cautious optimism and a renewed sense of resilience. The scars of our ordeal served as a poignant reminder of the fragility of trust and the enduring strength of the human spirit. And as I looked back on that tumultuous chapter of my life, I found solace in the unexpected lessons learned from an unlikely friendship born in the shadows. The second story with a lot of emotional ups and downs. Are you ready? Let's start second story. My wife abandoned me, leaving behind a letter explaining her departure. Despite years spent unsuccessfully trying to track her down, she suddenly returned, begging for reconciliation. Before she left, she'd been acting strangely for months, working overtime, always on her phone. And one day, I came home to find everything gone. Wife, child, their belongings, even our emergency cash. Her note explained she'd left to be with someone who made her happier. Someone I supposedly knew, but she refused to name. The pain was unbearable that first night. I drowned it in alcohol, feeling as though a dagger had pierced my heart. I read her letter repeatedly, fixating on the mystery of this unknown person who had stolen my family. I delved into every possibility. Was it Nick? An old friend she often talked fondly of? Or perhaps Trey, her co-worker whom she praised but never seemed interested in romantically? I cycled through potential partners, consumed by jealousy and despair. Weeks turned into months as I contemplated divorce or legal action, but I couldn't muster the will. I spiraled into isolation, neglecting everything but work and my bed. My home grew filthy, my mind haunted by visions of Emily and another man raising my child. Despite checking social media and contacting her workplace, there were no leads. I even scoured public records in desperation, losing my family and friends. I was adrift. Finally, at my lowest, I reached out to my brother Isaac. In that moment, I realised I still had a thread of hope, perhaps a desire to live. We decided I needed therapy, a last-ditch effort to salvage my shattered life. For 2 years, I saw Mrs. Smith, a therapist specialising in family trauma. Slowly, I rebuilt myself physically and mentally, channeling my rage into rigorous gym sessions and a healthier lifestyle. I regained control, finding solace in exercise and cooking. Then, unexpectedly, a letter from Emily surfaced among a stack of old mail. Her regret poured from the pages. Her new partner had been abusive, and leaving me was her deepest regret. She confessed I was her true love and pleaded for forgiveness. Despite her words, she withheld information about our child's whereabouts. I cautiously agreed to meet, learning she had been deceived by her new partner, who had been cheating on her. But then she dropped a bombshell. Our child wasn't mine. Isaac was the biological father, betrayed and furious. I confronted Emily in a coffee shop. Her attempts at reconciliation turned to anger when I demanded custody. In the ensuing argument, fueled by years of resentment, I was struck with a coffee pot, landing me in the hospital with head injuries. I was discharged days later, devastated anew. Alone and shattered, I sought solace in alcohol. In a haze of grief and despair, I made a fateful decision to numb the pain with drugs, spiraling into addiction. Losing my job and home, I ended up on the streets, craving escape from my reality. Eventually, my downward spiral led me to a hospital bed, where my mother intervened, demanding I seek help. Now, in rehab, I'm trying to piece together what remains of my shattered life. Thank you for watching our story unfold. If you have any real-life stories to share, please send them our way. We'll delve into them in our next video. Don't forget to comment below with your thoughts on these stories. See you soon.